Good evening once again. My name is Arnold Young and I welcome you all back to the YouTube channel. Now we are still on non-Newtonian fluids and today I want us to have a brief discussion on Bingham plastic fluids. Now what are Bingham plastic fluids? For such fluids, when under shear, what is going to happen? They behave as a weak solid. When the shear, let me continue here. When the shear is below some critical value. Now understand what this particular critical value means in the subsequent slides. So they behave as a solid when the applied shear on them, on the entire fluid mass, is below some particular critical value. But when the applied shear is above the critical value, the entire fluid mass starts to flow, or they show macroscopic flow. That is what I'm trying to say. Now, so typical examples of these fluids, we have toothpaste, jam, chocolate, drilling mud, clay suspension, mustard, acne cream, and there are so many others. But let us actually understand the behavior of Bingham plastic fluid at the microscopic level. Now, at the microscopic level, what is going to happen? You see, think of Bingham plastic fluid as that is a liquid phase substance containing suspended particles. Now, these suspended particles actually form clusters at several sections within the entire fluid mass. Now, this is what I'm trying to say. For these suspended particles, that is, at some particular area, there could be high intermolecular force of attraction between them. Now, this intermolecular force of attraction could be an electrostatic force of attraction between the suspended particles. It could also be some type of hydrogen bonding, or it could also be any other type of intermolecular force of attraction. So, due to this strong intermolecular force of attraction at certain localized portion, we are going to have clusters of these suspended particles formed. Now, these clusters of suspended particles will also have intermolecular force of attraction with some other clusters of solid particles throughout the entire fluid. And what is going to happen? You realize that we are going to have a 3D structure at the microscopic level. Now, this 3D structure will then tell us that, oh, okay, this particular fluid is actually behaving as a weak solid at this particular level. That is when we don't apply any shear stress on the fluid. That is the idea of the microstructure of a Bingham plastic fluid. Now, what is going to happen when we start applying some particular stress? When we start applying stress on the entire fluid mass, what is going to happen? Now, the energy supplied to, that is the bond, the structure of this particular fluid mass will be such that it will cause, that is, some particular elastic behavior within the structure. What am I trying to say? Now, the entire bond will absorb the energy and then deform elastically. That is, if the applied stress is below some critical value of the fluid. Now, that particular critical value is what we call the yield stress. So if the applied shear stress on the entire fluid mass is below the yield stress, what is going to happen? At the microstructure level, the bond would deform elastically and then regain its original dimension or regain its original state. That is what I'm trying to say. So at that particular point, any shear force applied to the fluid is such that is the intermolecular force of attraction is strong to withstand or is to withstand the deformation caused by the external applied shear on the entire fluid mass. That is what I'm trying to say. So at that particular point, the intermolecular force of attraction is so strong that it can resist that particular applied shear. So at that particular point, what is going to happen? The fluid behaves elastically. That is what I'm trying to say. It behaves elastically. It will deform and then regain its original dimension. Think of this Bingham plastic fluid at this stage as a stretch net, right? Even though the entire net will be stretched, but there will be no deformation in the bond for this particular fluid at this stage. Now, at some particular stage, that at the yield stress at that critical value. Now, if your applied shear stress is exactly equal to the critical value, what is going to happen? You realize that the bonds between the individual microclusters will start to break, and an increase in the stress above the yield stress will cause macroscopic flow in our substance. That's what I'm trying to say. Will cause macroscopic flow in our substance. That is it. That is all for Bingham plastic fluid. That is all for Bingham plastic fluids. Now let us talk about some mathematics of Bingham plastic fluids. Now for the mathematics, we all know that we can use the Herschel-Barclay's model. Now what does the Herschel-Barclay's model say? The Herschel-Barclay's model says that tau, that's the applied shear stress, is equal to tau naught, that the yield stress, plus B, the consistency index, multiplied by the U dy raised to the power n, and we can convert the Herschel-Barclay's model into the Bingham plastic model, and this is our Bingham plastic model. Tau naught plus mu apparent multiplying the U dy, where our mu apparent is equal to what? Is equal to B du dy all raised to the power n minus 1. That is it. But for the Bingham plastic fluid, there's one thing you need to note. Now, your n, which is your flow index, is actually 1 for Bingham plastic fluids, and the tau naught, as we said, is always greater than 0. It is always greater than 0. So if our n is equal to 1, then I can say, if I substitute 1 here, what is going to happen? Du dy raised to the power 0 will give us 1. So our mu apparent is the same as B. That is it. And we all know the consistency index. B is our consistency index. That is it. I've already done some discussions on B in the previous lecture, so you can look, you can watch them now. So I think that is all for the mathematics of Bingham plastic. And there's one thing you have to note. For the Bingham plastic, your mu apparent is a constant. You can clearly see mu apparent is equal to B. So for here, you can clearly see our tau naught is a constant. So we are having a linear relationship. That is, the relationship between the tau and the velocity gradient is actually linear. Our mu apparent is also constant. That is what I'm trying to say. So that is all for the mathematics of Bingham plastic fluid. Now, shear stress versus shear strain rate. Now, how does the fluid strains with respect to the applied shear? Where you keep increasing the applied shear, how is the fluid going to strain? Now we told you that, I told you that for Bingham plastic fluids, initially, when you apply the shear, what is going to happen? The fluid does not deform, right? You don't see any macroscopic flow, so the fluid does not strain. So you keep applying the shear stress. You wouldn't see any strain, any velocity gradient of that particular Bingham plastic fluid until you get to some particular critical point. Now at this critical point, when I apply the shear stress above that particular point, what is going to happen? That is where I start to see flow. So this is actually the relationship between the applied shear and the velocity gradient for Bingham plastic fluid. Now, the tangent of this particular angle we all know will be what? Our mu apparent, the gradient of this particular line will be our mu apparent. You can also call that plastic viscosity. That is all, plastic viscosity, or the apparent viscosity. The apparent viscosity for Bingham plastic is the plastic viscosity. Now at this particular point where you keep applying the shear, what is going to happen at the microstructure? The bond, or if I should say the 3D structure of the fluid, does not regain its original state at this particular point. That is at a point above the what? Above the critical value, what we call the yield stress, which is our tau naught. That is what I'm trying to say. So the gradient of this will be our mu apparent. So change in tau, change in du, dy. So if I find change in tau over change in du, dy of the line, I'm getting my mu apparent. That is what I'm trying to say. That's it. Now the apparent viscosity versus the shear rate. Now what can you see? Initially, the fluid behaves as a weak solid. So you can clearly see that initially the apparent viscosity was very, very high. When I keep increasing the shear, right? When I keep increasing the shear, what is happening? You can clearly see that the apparent viscosity keeps falling. It keeps falling. Now it gets to a particular point whereby an increase in the shear rate keeps the apparent viscosity more or less like constant. With time. That is what I'm trying to say. So at this point, you can clearly see our apparent viscosity does not really vary with time. That is what I'm trying to say. Does not really vary with time. It is almost horizontal. That is it. Now this is a summary for what we've discussed so far. So what is Bingham plastic? So Bingham plastic fluids are non-Newtonian fluids that behave like a rigid solid at low stress, that is at stresses below the yield point, but will flow or show deformation like a viscous fluid once the applied shear stress exceeds the critical value called the yield stress. That is it. And examples of these fluids are toothpaste, jam, chocolate, drilling mud, clay suspension, mustard, and certain acne creams. That is all. We said that at rest they behave as solid. That is, the particle network will try to resist the deformation at that particular point where you start applying shear. Now increasing shear, what happens? The fluid remains solid until the applied shear exceeds the critical value, the yield stress. Now at the yield stress, what happens? Above the yield stress, what happens? Our fluid starts to deform, or they start to undergo strain, or they start straining. That's what I'm trying to say. Now this is the summary of the mathematics we discussed so far. That is it. So I think we are done with Bingham plastic fluids. It wasn't a difficult concept to understand. So So I think I'll end the class here. See you in the next lecture. Have a wonderful evening.